Hi guys, and welcome to Cultnomics. My name is Paul Hanley, and today I'm going to be chatting to you about output gaps in the ADAS model. In this video, we're going to examine the difference between what's called a recessionary gap and an inflationary gap. So what we have in this model here is a short-run aggregate supply curve, an aggregate demand curve, and a long-run aggregate supply curve. The long-run equilibrium then between these points gives us a price level in the economy, and it gives us a level of GDP as well. So we have at point here, A here, price and GDP, and we also have our equilibrium over on the right hand side for long run equilibrium. Now, when we're looking at the left hand side here, we're trying to look at the example of a recessionary gap. So if we had a negative shock to the aggregate demand curve, this may come from a shock to consumption or investment, maybe governments implementing austerity policies. What we would see in this case is that the aggregate demand curve would shift leftwards as shown. So we have an aggregate demand curve over to the left representing less spending in the economy. And what this does in terms of our model is it gives us a new short-run equilibrium point over here at point B, which shows us that the price level reduces under these recessionary type conditions, and also the level of output of GDP reduces as well. So GDP goes from GDP 1 down to GDP 2. So we have our classic recession of falling prices and GDP falling as well. The difference between actual output in the short run, which is at point B now, and potential output, which is measured by the long run aggregate supply curve, is what we call an output gap in general, and specifically when it falls to the left hand side, it's called a recessionary gap. So this is when prices fall and GDP falls, we have a gap opened up between potential output and actual output. So in the short run, these two can deviate, and this is shown by a business cycle and a recessionary period. Now, what we can also do on the right hand side is show an inflationary period. So, for example, if there was extra spending in this economy coming from a fiscal expansion or expansionary monetary policy or increased investment levels in the economy for some reason, this would shift the aggregate demand curve over to the right hand side. So a shift in AD over to the right due to an expansion of spending in the economy, in which case what we have is a new short run equilibrium. We go from point A to point B. What this does is the extra spending in the economy is pushing up prices. So we are going up to price level 2 up here, and it's also increasing the GDP level. So we are going over to GDP 2 over here. So in this case, in a classic inflationary gap, due to expanding expenditure in the economy, expanding aggregate demand, the price level goes up, GDP goes up as well, and now there's a gap between potential output, measured by LRAS, and actual output, measured by point B, the short run equilibrium. So in the short run, the economy is overheating here. It's producing more than there is in terms of natural potential output, and it causes inflationary pressure, and it may increase GDP in the short run as well. I hope you call back to Cultnomics soon. Bye for now.